this is Corey with ME Navigator, and I first want to say I know I look like I'm doing great right now, and I am doing so much better. I am now kind of coming up on moderate, but I came from 5% physical and cognitive, 3% into crash, bedbound, agony, hearing somebody walking outside the room, crawling myself into the bathroom with a lot of breaks. So I've been there. I wanted to talk about aggressive rest. And what I mean by aggressive rest is resting proactively, resting longer than you think you might need to, planning rest into any activity you're doing, and planning it for before and after, just really prioritizing it and making space for it. So when I travel, when I have a big day of some kind, and that's different for everybody. If you're very severe, having a 20-minute conversation in bed requires preparation and recovery. Or you might be able to get out, like me, in a reclining wheelchair, power chair, and go on a trip, and get in a plane, whatever it is, or go to a wedding or something really important. Whatever it is, you need to pad it with rest. So for something, a big thing that you don't usually do, like a wedding, maybe, I would rest proactively for a week before. And that means resting as if you were crashed, staying in bed as much as possible, doing the absolute minimum you have to do. I mean, whatever your level is, doing the absolute minimum you can do for the days or for the week leading up to whatever the event is. It's really important. Then, say you do the event, the next day you're still riding the high from having done something different and exciting and feeling better. Maybe you don't feel bad yet. You don't feel like you're going to crash, and you think, I could do the breakfast after the wedding. No. No. You have to proactively rest after something big like that. So you plan in a day or a week or whatever you may need, depending on where you're at, where you do the same thing. Treat yourself like you're crashed. And after a day of doing proactive resting, you may have a better idea of where you are. Like after a full day in bed, after an activity, PEM comes 0 to 48 hours later. So you could come out the next day and be like, I can still do stuff. No, your PEM just hasn't hit yet. When you stay in bed for a day afterwards, then you start to maybe get an inkling whether it's coming or not, or how bad. I would stay in bed for the full day, and then the next day be really cautious. Like, test it out. You might need a week in bed. You might need to act as if you're completely crashed. Whatever you need, be very careful. Be very padded in how you rest. And you plan that into things. Like when I travel, when I go on a trip, when I get to a place, I plan to spend a day in the dark in bed as if I've had a horrible crash on the day after arrival. So I rest the day of arrival, and then the next day I stay in bed in the dark. I do not make any plans for that day other than maybe going downstairs to the hotel dinner. That's what I mean by aggressive rest. You're padding what you can do, and you're making space for it. Again, if this is your envelope, if you're constantly doing 90% or 80% of your envelope, even if you don't go over, if you do this all the time, you will crash. So you got to build in a rest day every once in a while where you're at 20% to stop from crashing. It's not just going over that crashes you. And you have to keep in mind, again, that 48 hours is possible. So when you feel good after something, you're still on the rush, doesn't mean anything. Give yourself 48 hours if you can, but certainly 24 hours of full rest after something. So that is aggressive resting. I wish you luck with it. It really helps avoid crashes. And remember, avoiding crashes is part of what's keeping you from getting worse. Because if you crash, you get worse. Avoid the crash. There's not evidence that it makes you better, but it certainly made me better. So I hope it does for you too.